Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another video. Breaking news: Arnaut Danjuma has signed for Everton Football Club. Everton confirmed the signing of the winger earlier this afternoon. Everton have said Arnaut Danjuma has become Everton's second summer signing, joining the club on a season-long loan from Villarreal. The 26-year-old forward follows the arrival of Ashley Young earlier this month and adds versatility and top-level experience to Sean Dyche's squad. He will wear the number 10 shirt at Everton, which is quite significant. Danjuma has spoken about his move to Everton. He has said, "It's amazing to join Everton and I'm really happy to be here. It's been a long time coming to join such a massive club as Everton and it makes me proud. I had interest from other clubs, but there was a pull towards Everton because of the fans, the manager and the history of the club, and it's second time lucky for me. I know I did not move to the club in January. That was because there was some uncertainty over the manager situation at that time, but I think it makes it even more beautiful for me to join now. I am very grateful to be at the club and I can't wait to play in front of the fans as well. I hope to bring a lot of goals and a lot of assists. The manager has clearly improved the team and there is a process ahead with him in charge that I am very excited to be a part of. I am very eager to perform and very determined to contribute to the entire club. There's no vein in my body that doubts my quality and I'm very determined to now show that to the Evertonians." He also went on to talk about the Tottenham game earlier on last season where Michael Keane scored a rocket of an equaliser in the last minute. He said, "It's difficult to explain in words how much they impressed me," talking about the Evertonians. "I have heard a lot about the stadium and the fans, but you can only experience it." Specifically for that Keane goal, I was warming up down the touchline and it literally felt like 40,000 people were screaming in my ear. It makes you more keen to play for a club with a fan base that is so involved and so excited to cheer on their players. It's why I am proud and very eager to get started. To finally feel that on my side as well. I'm very eager to be a part of it and to make sure I can contribute to winning games as well as contributing to the way we play. So very, I suppose, impressive words by Arnaut Danjuma there. He acknowledges the situation in January, which I think is good. I think it was important that that situation was acknowledged and not sort of just ignored and almost left to just sort of be put there and never be spoken about again, because it was always going to be something that was brought up. You know, if Danjuma has a bad game or if he doesn't play, it was always going to be brought up about what happened in January. So I think it's important, and I think it's good that that's being acknowledged. He speaks about the fact that it was a managerial decision, and there was, because of the difference in managerial situation, he decided against it. And you can't really blame him ultimately. At the time that he was linked to signing for Everton and had agreed a deal to sign for Everton, we had Frank Lampard managing the football club, and then all of a sudden, before he actually signed his deal, we've got Sean Dyche. He probably didn't know a lot about Sean Dyche at the time. He probably was unsure about where he was going to fit in. So, again, although it was dramatised and, played out on social media as this big, he turned round and ran out the door, etc., and he snaked us and this, that and the other, it probably was, a very logical decision by him, and he explains that it was because of the manager situation. I think it's also very good that he's discussed the Tottenham game and the fact that he was booed quite heavily, and he was sort of had a lot of people screaming down as he's spoken about that and about how that ultimately was formed part of his decision making to want to join Everton Football Club, because he wants to be on the other end of that. He wants to be, on the Everton side when fans are screaming and shouting down opposition players' ears. So I think that is a really, really good way to break the ice, a really, really good way almost to say whatever's happened has happened in the past. This is the reason why it happened. I was massively impressed, in that game against Tottenham and with the reception that I got. It's almost like he's saying I was quite, I'm not happy with the reception that I got per se, but I was almost quite, sort of overwhelmed by the reception, and it almost made me feel like, oh my God, these are a serious fan base, and that obviously has formed part of him wanting to join the football club again. as I always say this when we sign players, it's difficult with these types of interviews because more often than not, the same questions being asked. What's it like to sign for Everton? Are you looking forward to playing at Goodison Park? What's it like to play under the manager? Have you spoken to the manager, etc, etc? And you always get similar sort of answers. But this one, as I said, I was specifically impressed with when I read it before, and I apologise that this video was a little bit late. I've just been filming something in Manchester that I can't talk about just yet, but that was why I wasn't able to get it out at 1 o'clock when the signing was announced. But it is sort of exciting when you sort of see an interview where the player is dismissed straight away, or not necessarily dismissed, but spoken about the sort of elephant in the room. Because the elephant in the room was, well, he turned us down in January. He joins, he does this interview, he addresses that elephant in the room straight away. He says on Instagram, second time lucky. He speaks about the decision to not move in January, and it almost, I think, sort of puts us all at ease and gives us all a position to say, right, okay, we'll move on from that now and let's look to the future. And the future for me is important. And I said it last week when we were linked with Danjuma, and when it became quite evident that he was likely to join Everton Football Club, I said ultimately for me the decision is based on a footballing decision, and we aren't really in a position as a football club to be rejecting players or turning down players on the basis that they turned us down 6 months before because of a certain situation. As I've just said, logically it makes sense. He was signing for one manager, that manager was sacked, the new manager come in and he wasn't quite sure whether he was going to fit in, so he didn't want to sign. It's not just because of the way it was played out on social media has made it look much worse than what it is. But the reality of the situation is Arnaut Danjuma improves Everton massively. His goal scoring record isn't bad at all across his career. He's done well at Villarreal at times. I believe he's fell out with people at Villarreal, and that's ultimately why he's wanting to move. Okay, he didn't get much of an opportunity at Spurs, but I've seen a lot of Spurs fans talking about how when he was given a chance and when he did come on, he looked bright and he looked a bright spark. I think the difference between him playing for Spurs and playing for Everton is he's pretty much going to start week in, week out for Everton. He's being given the number 10 shirt, which usually would indicate that he's going to have a big part to play in this season going forward, and I hope that he does have a big part to play in this season going forward. The reason I say usually is because Everton and squad numbers over the years have not necessarily meant that players have got a certain role. Samuel Eto'o being given number 5 as the example. But that would suggest that he's going to have quite the part to play, and also we know he's going to have a part to play because ultimately he strengthens our side. And is he a better footballer and a better winger and a better contributor than the players that we've currently got at the squad? Quite possibly, yes. Will he get a lot of games for Everton? Yes. Will he start a lot of games? Yes. And it's down ultimately to him now to prove himself. As he says in his interview, there's not one sort of doubtful bone in his body about his ability. He knows what he can do. He knows his ability. We've seen it before. At times for Villarreal, some of the goals that he scored have been fantastic. So hopefully he can bring that. Hopefully we can see that side of him. Hopefully, again, I'm not going to sit here and say all is forgiven with every Evertonian. There probably is still some Blues out there that are saying I'm not really bothered whether or not he explains why he didn't come in January. He still turned around in January and walked away, and there will definitely be some Blues that he still has to impress and he still has to earn that respect of, and he should do that. I said this last week when we spoke about it. Ultimately now all Arnaut Danjuma has to do is work that little bit harder than maybe what he would have had to have done anyway. If he didn't have the situation in January, he's got to give that extra 5%, he's got to give that extra 10%, he's got to work that bit harder, he's got to run that bit further, he's got to attack that bit more. But really, he should be doing that anyway. Every single time Danjuma or any other player puts an Everton shirt on, they should be given 110%, regardless of whether or not they turned us down, in one window and joined in another window, or whether or not they've been here for 10 years, or whether or not they've come through the academy. Every single time they put that shirt on, they should be given 110%, and he speaks about how he's willing to do that, he's ready to do that. He's obviously had a conversation with Sean Dyche, and Sean Dyche has explained that he wants him in his plans, and he wants him to be a sort of a first team, a strong first team member of this squad. So again, very, very, very exciting. The second one in the door. Quite impressed with the speed of which Everton have announced this. I was talking before to a couple of Blues, and we were talking about how Everton usually have this sort of this history of waiting an additional day or 2 days to announce a player when there's no need to. We knew he'd had his medical yesterday, we knew he'd completed this medical late last night, so I was sitting there saying, are we going to do a typical Everton and say, oh well, we'll announce that on Monday, or we'll announce that on Tuesday, or we'll do that? And they didn't, to be fair to them, they didn't. They announced it straight away, got it out there, 1 o'clock, and that is good, because ultimately what that means is the fans can get a little bit excited. We've got a second face in now. Obviously after Ashley Young, we've got a forward in, which is exciting for the start, because we need one. Trust me, as I was at Wigan yesterday, and it was pretty much the start 11 you would expect to see on the first day of the Premier League season, out barring maybe Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and we were not particularly great, especially going forward. We were really poor, so it's a forward coming in, which is great to see, and obviously will excite fans, and it also allows us now to move on to the next one. We don't need to talk about Danjuma anymore. Is he going to sign? Is he not going to sign? When's it going to get announced? It's been announced he's an Everton player, so we move on to the next one. Now, whether that next one is Willie Nonto, whether that next one is Iniacho, whoever that next one may be, we can move on now, and we can move on to getting that deal done, and hopefully we can get another player in before next Saturday. We obviously play Bolton on Tuesday night, and it'll be nice to see, hopefully, Danjuma make his debut there. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. He's been training with Villarreal in pre-season, so he'll still be fit. He'll obviously had a couple of days training with Everton, so I don't see why he wouldn't be involved in that game against Bolton on Tuesday. But hopefully we're in a position this time next week where we've got another name in and they can play in that game against Stoke, because that's what we need realistically. That game against Sporting Lisbon the week before the Premier League season starts is the game where we will sit down and we will look at our squad and we will look at that starting 11, and we will sort of be able to gauge, okay, this is probably the starting 11 that is going to play next week against Fulham. Now, as I said, I was at Wigan yesterday, and that was a pretty strong starting 11, and we weren't very good. Granted, pre-season, fitness, all about the physical battle, etc., etc., but we weren't very good in attacking areas. We weren't very good against the League One side. So we're hoping that we get to that game against Sporting, and you've got Danjuma in there, you've maybe got Nonto in there if we're going to sign him, you've maybe got Iniacho in there, you've got players in there that you can look at and go, okay, we're significantly stronger now than we were 2 or 3 weeks ago. Obviously, the window doesn't shut until into the Premier League season, but we don't want to be waiting until 3 games into the Premier League season to make our sort of signing of the summer, if you like, or the player that everyone's excited about. You want to get them through the door ASAP, and I'm happy that we've got the Danjuma deal done. I personally hold no grudge towards him. I think he explained the situation, and even if he didn't explain it, he's an Everton player now. Put it to one side, get behind him, and let's hope that he can seriously contribute to some form of attacking success next season, because we definitely need it. So there you go. Arnaut Danjuma is officially an Everton player. This time he is officially an Everton player. There's no going back now. He has joined on a season-long loan from Villarreal. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comments section down below. Big thank you all for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Up the toffees, and we'll see you later.